Hey, everybody, welcome into the 14, where we're previewing all of Week 1's SEC games from a betting perspective. Today, we're talking about Kent State and Texas A&M. This is the Aggies opener at 8 p.m. Eastern at Kyle Field on ESPNU on Saturday night. Bringing in our gambling expert, Christopher Smith, to talk about this one. Christopher, what do you think about the Aggies coming into this season?
Yeah, Texas A&M getting some love this year in the futures market. This is why Texas A&M paid Jimbo Fisher $100 million plus this season right here. We'll see if he can get it done, but it'll be interesting to find out. We're about to find out. Let's get into Nick's news and notes and give us some headlines before we get into the betting analysis. What's going on around these programs and around this game?
Sure. So the first thing I want to talk about is how dang hot it's going to be on Saturday in College Station. The high is 98. They've got an evening kickoff, which is probably a good thing for our Ohio friends. But even at an evening kickoff, we're probably looking at temperatures of about 90 degrees, maybe the upper 80s. So we're gonna see some hot conditions, and that may play a factor late in the game for those who weren't as fortunate as the Aggies to be able to condition in that type of weather in preseason camp. And then from there, we're looking at a Texas A&M team that just narrowly missed the college football playoff last year, but is looking to replace their all-time leading passer in Kellen Mond. And so we spent most of fall camp looking at who the options might be, and Jimbo Fisher just recently settled on Haynes King, who was Mond's backup last year. And so it's going to be just as interesting to see what they provide him in terms of an opportunity in this game to, show that he's got what it takes to be that starter. Because Jimbo said that they really pressured him, put him through the ringer during some of the scrimmages this fall, but that they've put him on his own. They want to see him, adjust his line on his own, to audible out of plays on his own, and so it'll be interesting to see if they just sort of take this game as a big time favorite and hold everything close to the vest, or if they actually decide to really put him to the test and see what he's capable of. And that could definitely have gambling implications to it. And the other thing I look at is, on the other side, is at Kent State. I don't know what to make of them from 2020. If you remember, the MAC football season was extremely abbreviated. They only played 4 games, but in those 4 games, they put up some pretty eye-popping offensive numbers. If you look at it from a FBS standpoint, they were number 1 in both points per game at 49.8 and in yards per game at 606.5. And they returned their quarterback from that team, along with much of the offense. But on the flip side of that, those 4 games were against Eastern Michigan, Akron, Bowling Green, and Buffalo. So not exactly the Aggies defense they're going up against either. But it makes it interesting when you're trying to peg this total to say, was that real or was it a mirage? From a betting standpoint, what are you seeing on that?
Yeah, so Texas A&M now a 29-point favorite in this game, up just half a point from where it opened at 28.5. The total is actually sitting at 67, and that's right where it opened up. And you did mention, what is the strategy for Jimbo Fisher in this game? How does he want to manage this game? How does he want to manage his quarterback? He's one of those old school coaches who you probably remember being in Nashville that last season, he beat Vanderbilt 17-12 in a game that was way closer than most people thought it should be, with Bama on deck the next week. And Texas A&M was a 30-point favorite in that game. Didn't come close. But this year, I don't think there's really much of a reason to play coy with Haynes King. He needs some real reps. He needs some real experience. They knew what they had in Kellen Mond last year. Not so much this year. Plus, you got to look at the schedule for Texas A&M. Next, you have Colorado, then New Mexico, then Arkansas, then Mississippi State. So who is Jimbo Fisher really trying to hold out on and trying to surprise? I don't think it's any of those teams. So because they have such a soft schedule, I do think that Texas A&M will try to break in their new quarterback and some new receivers and just run their offense. Now, you look at Kent State. You mentioned a little bit some of their numbers from last season, but they have what could be the best offensive line in the MAC, and maybe a top 20 quarterback in the country in Dustin Crum, who completed almost 74% of his passes last season with a 6-to-1 TD to INT ratio, but he also ran for 5.5 yards per carry. So I do think Kent State has the flash fast offense. They want to run a lot of tempo. That'll be very interesting in this heat. And also they're playing against what could be a top 5 defense nationally. So I do think Kent State will be a fun team to watch in the MAC this year, but it's just a horrible matchup for them in the heat in College Station, week 1, going against an Aggies defense that's every bit a legitimate SEC title contender defense right now. So what happens if you're going fast, and you're going 3 and out, and you're going 3 and out, and you're going 3 and out very quickly, and then Texas A&M gets the ball in the heat all game and just leans on you and leans on you and leans on you. So I do think that Kent State is actually, becoming a pretty decent group of 5 program at the moment. I just don't think they match up very well with Texas A&M in this game. But Nick, what are you picking in this game from a betting standpoint, and where are you putting your money?
So I agree with you wholeheartedly on the Texas A&M defense being able to keep that Kent State offense in check, even with the gaudy numbers from last season. And for that reason, I really like Texas A&M minus the 29. I think they're going to run away with this game. Where I'm struggling a little bit is on the total. 67 is a pretty big number to get to, especially if you have a lopsided game that maybe everybody just sort of at the, towards the end of the game says, all right, let's just try to get out of here, keep everybody healthy, not do anything crazy. So I definitely could see a scenario where A&M is scoring at a pretty good pace and their defense is keeping Kent State in check, but they're just not quite going to get to the 67 that we need. So I'm going to go with the under 67 and Texas A&M minus 29. How about you?
Well, we got to make it interesting somehow in week 1. So I'm going to go against you and take the over 67. One of the things I think could happen in this game, first of all, like I mentioned, I don't think Jimbo Fisher has any reason on the schedule to hold back on offense. And I think he needs to get some real reps for his quarterback. And the second thing I think is that Kent State is not going to quit with their pace, whether they're behind by 5 touchdowns or it's competitive. Once you get to the back half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, A&M's probably going to have their third string defense in there. I don't expect Kent State with their attitude and their coaching staff to slow down. They could easily score 10 plus, maybe 14 plus points just in the last 20 minutes of this game when it gets out of hand. So if that's the case, A&M puts a lot of points on the board early. Kent State puts some points on the board late. I like the over 67. I am taking Texas A&M minus 29. Of course, I would love it if it was minus 28. I probably am not going to bet money on the side personally in this game, but to pick, definitely taking the Aggies minus 29 and expect there to be some buzz coming out of this game about Texas A&M maybe winning the SEC and maybe challenging Alabama. But for Nick Cole, I'm Christopher Smith for the 14, and we'll see you at the betting window this weekend.